Good morning, kids. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can see me and hear me. Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you, Rachel. I guess everything is good to go. Good morning. Let's all get our hearts ready. We're gonna start today's Sunday school with praise first. Okay, so I want all of you guys, if you can pull your device, doesn't matter phone or your laptop or a tablet, iPad, put it against something so you can stand up, and then we're all gonna do praise together. If you have brother and sister in the same class, because we're gonna do body worship. If you have anybody in the same class or parents are not doing anything, bring them over. Let's do praise together.
Let's start with prayer. Father God, thank you for bringing us all here again today, and I pray that we can praise and worship you, and I pray all this in Jesus' name. Alright, first song is Thank You, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for such a beautiful day. It reminds me of the love you gave to me. I want to reflect your love to the people that I meet. Thank you, Lord, for such a beautiful day. It reminds me of the love you gave to me. I want to reflect your love to the people that I meet today. Every day is a gift from you. Every day let me start anew. And I know your love can make this day a very special day. So help me, Lord, to live this day for you. Woo! Thank you, Lord, for such a beautiful day. It reminds me of the love you gave to me. I want to reflect your love to the people that I meet today. Alright, second song is Jesus is a Rock. Jesus is a rock. Jesus is a rock, and he rolls my blues away. Bop, she bop, woo! Jesus is a rock, and he rolls my blues away. Bop, she bop, woo! Jesus is a rock, Jesus is a rock, Jesus is a rock, and he rolls my blues away. I've got a dance in my feet. I've got a dance in my feet. I've got a dance in my feet. hearts can be open for the serving and for the service. And thank you again. And pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, let's all. Okay, I think now you guys should hear me. Sorry. You can hear me now, right? I forgot to turn the sound back on. Okay, so if you guys came here early enough earlier at 10:50, you should see there's a thumbnail, and then ask a question. Ask you guys to write down on your notebook for all the creations in 7 days. Who wrote all of it down without looking at your notes? Who memorized it and then wrote everything down? Can you put your name? Can you put your name on the chat box? Who was able to write all of them down on your notebook? Very good, Caleb. Thank you, Adele. Anybody else? Only 2 people? Okay, I hope you guys all memorized it and somehow wrote something down, because later you have to show this to your teacher when we go to small Zoom class. Joshua cannot hear me. Okay, yes, you can hear me now. Okay, good. So, anybody remember what we learned last week? We actually did review for VBS week 1's message. Anybody remember? Can you put in the chat box? What did we learn from week 1 VBS? It's also the very first pillar of our faith. There's 4 things that we learned. Anybody remember? Very good. I think that's either Ian or Claire. Says, I'm a sinner. And Adele, thank you. Okay, thank you. Noah, okay, your friends are doing church with you. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Rachel. Very good. I guess you guys remember, right? That's very important, that I am a sinner. And then who knows was 2nd week's message, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. Can you write down in the chat box? Actually, I cannot give you a hint at the cover page at YouTube Live already. What's the 2nd week's message from VBS? Anybody remember? Anybody remember? 2nd week's. Very good, Adele. But there's a one more part besides Jesus came to us as a man 2,000 years ago. He came as a man, and also, it's correct. Jesus came down to this earth 2,000 years ago, but he was what? 100% what and 100% what? That's the answer I was looking for. He's 100% and 100%. He's 100% and 100%. I'm just waiting for the answer. See if you guys remember or not. This is very important. Very good. I think that's Gracie as man and God. Very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All of you guys are giving me the correct answer now. Okay, so this is what we're gonna be talk about today. Okay. Before we go into today's lesson, if you haven't signed up, sign your name at the chat box, because teacher is taking attendance. If you hasn't signed up at the chat box for your first name, last name, and grade, please do so now. Okay, so teacher will know that you're actually here at Sunday school. Okay, so last week we talked about I'm a sinner. We talk about God's creation. We talk about God created us in his own image. And then we also talk about God told us we can eat everything in the garden, but there's only one type of fruit from this tree we cannot eat, right? It's from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, meaning that God, when He created us in His image, and He already gave us enough wisdom and knowledge, everything we need to know based on His knowledge of good and evil, right? Based on how He think what's good and bad, right? But Satan came as a snake, tried to entice Eve and told her that, maybe you're not gonna die when you eat this fruit, because when your eyes will be open, you'll be like God, you'll know good and evil. And Eve ate the fruit, and that's how sin entered this world, right? And remember, we talk about sin, it's just kind of like your last name. If your last name is Kim, your father's last name is Kim, your last name will be Kim, and it's passed down generation to generation. This is something that we're born with from the day we're born until the day we die. We cannot change the fact that we're a sinner, right? And this week, we're going to move on to the second topic, which is Jesus. Jesus is 100% man and 100% God, okay? So right after Adam and Eve sinned, this is what God told Eve and also told Satan. Okay, I'm going to read this to you. This is in the version that you guys read. I read at ICB, the very easy version. It says in Genesis 3, okay, it says, the Lord God said to the snake, which is Satan, because you did this, what did he do? He enticed Eve to sin, right? A curse will be put on you. You will be cursed more than any tamed animals or wild animal. You will crawl on your stomach, and you will eat dust all the days of your life. I will make you and the woman enemies to each other. Your descendants and her descendants will be enemies. Her child will crush your head, and you will bite his heel. Okay, do you know who's this child was God talking about? Can you put in the chat if you know? This is actually a prophecy that God was telling that it's gonna happen later on in the New Testament. Anybody know who is this child that God was talking about that gonna crash Satan's head? Very good, Gracie. Very good, Caleb. Very good. Child of Adam and Eve. Okay. Oh, thank you, Crystal. Or this is from Olivia. Jesus. Thank you, Adele. Jesus. Very good. You guys get this answer correct. Jesus, right? Okay, very good. So after this story, we're gonna move on. You guys remember, this is the first time in the Bible that Jesus was prophesied, was told before he even came, right? And then let's see what story we learn. Remember the flood? Okay, so today Eva teacher gonna give you guys a lot of informations, right? Remember, you have a notebook. We ask you to prepare a notebook to do your homework. I want you to take your notebook out right now, and then if you need to take notes, you can take notes, okay? Because your teachers will ask you questions. Okay, it's better you take notes, so later during small class you can go back to the notes, can look at it. Okay, so the next story we talk about after the fall was the flood. Okay, and then it happened in the book of Genesis from chapter 6 to chapter 9. I'm giving you a hint. Everything I'm talking about, it might be a question that your teacher gonna ask you. You better take notes. Okay, I think for most of us, when we're taught about the story of Noah's Ark, I want you to close your eyes. What's the first image came to you? To me, it's the image of a cute little boat, has all these cute animals on there, and then Noah and his family looks very, very happy, right? But today, I kind of want to change this picture. Instead of thinking of all this cute cartoon looking, I kind of want to share something that I learned yesterday. So actually, You know, when the flood happened, why did the flood happen? Because everybody was sinning against God, right? We're going to read the Bible verse first together so maybe we can get a better idea. Okay? The Bible verse is in Genesis chapter 6, 5 to 8. Okay? This is what happened, why God sent the flood. The Lord saw that the human beings on the earth were very wicked, very bad. Okay? He also saw that their thoughts were only about evil all the time. What was in their thoughts? Evil, right? And then was it often or all the time? All the time, right? The Lord was sorry he had made human beings on the earth. His heart was filled with pain. So the Lord said, I would destroy all human beings that I made on the earth, and I would destroy every animal and everything that crawls on the earth. I will also destroy the birds of the air. This is because I'm sorry that I had made them. But Noah pleased the Lord. Okay. I know all of you, I don't know how you feel, but after I read this Bible verse, my heart was really happy. I know all of you are all kids. You probably don't understand how you will feel when you have children. Okay? But I want you to imagine, I think most of you, or some of you have pets, or like you have a toy that you love like dearly, something you treasure like the most, right? And can you just imagine that this thing that you treasure so much betrayed you? Because the more you love something, and when that thing betrayed you, you hurt more. Okay, God loves us so much. So when we betray Him, when we disobey Him, when we sin against Him, His heart was so painful, right? It's painful to the point that He feels sorry that He made us, and He decided to destroy all of us. Can you imagine if you have this cute little pets that you love, you adore, you feed it every day, you play with it every day, you try to build like some sort of relationship with it every day, but one day that this thing like betray you to the point that this thing became so evil to the point that you just want to destroy it. So it wasn't a pretty picture. It wasn't like what we thought about, that it's a cute little animals on this cute little boats and that God sent them with a rainbow on top. It was actually really crucial. If you see in this picture, you see all these human beings are drowning. That was the reality. That just shows that our sin, how much our sin grieves the heart of God. When we sin, this is how much pain that God's heart is going through, and His heart feel that He had to destroy all of them. Because you have to remember, at the same time God loves us, He also is a God that is justice, right? Whenever there's a sin, there has to be a punishment. You know that when God punished all those people, it's not like He was happy, yeah, I'm gonna punish them. No, His heart was hurting so bad. But because He's just, He has to punish, right? He has to punish. But in the midst of all of this, in the midst of God was punishing sins, He sent a flood, destroy everything on earth. Guess what? He also is a God that redeems. Okay, on the last verse that we read, that Noah pleased Him. And let's read the next Bible verse. Okay, also from Genesis. Okay, so God also remember His promise. Remember, He prophesied about Jesus. He didn't say, in many years later, Jesus gonna come and He's gonna crash the head of Satan. He's going to destroy sin. He's going to destroy evil, right? He's going to provide a way for us to reconnect the relationship with God, right? So in the midst of the punishment, God saved this one person and his family, which is Noah. And after all this flood, it says in the Bible, the Lord was pleased with these sacrifices. Do you remember? After Noah came out from the ark, he sacrificed, right? And God was pleased with it. And he said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of human beings. Their, their throw, though they are evil, even when they are young, even though when they're evil, when they're young, but I will never again destroy every living things on the earth as I did this time. Even we were so evil, even the sin has to be punished, even though God's heart was so hurt that he destroyed the whole earth, everything that he made. I think this is something that we can never imagine, we can never understand. But he also is a faithful God. He didn't just kind of destroy us and left us because he loves us. He saved this one family. So later on, Jesus can came from this family. And he also gave us a promise with a rainbow as symbol that he will never curse the ground. He will never send flood and destroy everything on earth, right? Okay, so if anything that I want you guys to remember in the story of the flood, it's not the pretty picture, it's not the cute little bowl with cute little animals, it's not how righteous that Noah is. This is all secondary, okay? How Noah is. No, I want you to remember when we sin, that really hurts God's heart to the point because he's just, he has to destroy everything on earth. He has to send the flood. That's how bad sin is. Okay? And also I want you to remember, even God punishes sins, but in the midst of everything, God is also a God who redeems and restores. Okay? He provided a way for us, which is later on sending Jesus. Okay, we're going to talk about this in a little bit. We're going to lead to the story later. Okay, so after the story of the flood, I don't know if you guys remember or not, the next character and next story we learn about is Abraham. Okay, remember God made a covenant with Abraham. Do you remember what's covenant? Covenant is built between two parties. Okay, it's a conditional promise, which means if you do this, I will do that. Okay, so in this promise, do you guys remember we brought all the glow in the dark stars that we decorated our wall? Do you remember? Yes. Whenever we turn off lights, we get to see all the stars that glow like in the sky, right? So in this covenant, God promised Abraham two things. Okay, the first thing that when God called Abraham to go to a foreign land, he said that, "Oh, you just want too much. What happened? Come back, come back. Oh, what happened?" Okay, let's wait for one more. What happened to the PowerPoint? Give me 1 second, okay? Let me fix the PowerPoint. Let's see if we can go back to it. Okay, we're just gonna start all over again. Okay, just one more. Okay, covenant. Okay, God promised two things to Abraham, right? He promised him with descendants, a lot of children after him. And he also promised him with land, right? And this is the first thing that God promised him. The second thing he also promised Abraham is that he will be a blessing. God told him that whoever blesses you will be blessed, whoever curses you will be cursed. Abraham will be blessing to all people, right? Remember how God promised him that he will have so many children, as many as the sand? at the beach or as many as the stars in the sky, right? And then in order for God to fulfill his part of promise, Abraham also have to do something. Okay, it's not he just lay there that all this gonna become true. First, Abraham has to believe, which is faith, right? So when God told Abraham all this, it's not like God already give him like children, a lot of children, or already give him the land, he already became blessing. No, when God first called Abraham, he couldn't see anything. He couldn't see the future. He didn't know what's going to happen. But Abraham believed, which is faith. Faith is something that you don't see, but you believe, right? Also, the second thing is not only he believed, he had faith, he act on that faith. So Abraham didn't just say, okay, God, I believe you. You're going to give me a lot of children. You're going to give me land. I'm going to become blessing. I'm just going to stay here at home. No, he put action into it, right? He packed up with his family, with God's guidance. They left their home, right? So faith is fully convinced, fully knowing God is who he is. God is who he says he is. And God will do what he says he will do. Even though I don't see it, even though I don't fully know you, God, but if you say you're a good God, I fully believe that you're a good God. And if you say that you're going to do this, I fully trust in you that you're going to do this. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have questions. There's a time that Abraham, when I questioned God, said, God, you said that I'm going to have all these descendants, but I don't even have a child. At that time, it's not Abraham didn't believe in God. It's with faith he went and asked God. He just have question. He just like, God, I believe it, but this doesn't make sense. I don't have any babies. How am I gonna have descendants? He doesn't understand how God's gonna do this. And it's at that time, God reaffirmed him and God kind of explained to him what he gonna do. He said that you are going to have your own child, right? So Abraham did not, it's not like he didn't believe in God. He believed in God, but he just didn't know because with his human mind, he didn't understand what God gonna do. So he just went and asked God. So is that good to have questions? It's very good to have questions, but it has to base on God, I believe you, but I just don't understand how this is gonna happen. And then you wanna ask God, and guess what? God's gonna give you an answer, right? That's why Abraham was called father of faith, right? Because even though he didn't see, he didn't understand, but he was fully convinced that God is who he says he is, and he will do whatever he says he will do. Okay? So, next, after the story of Abraham, we're going to talk about the story of Joseph. I don't know if you guys can see this clear or not. This little picture right here pretty much give you a whole story of what happened in Joseph's life. Okay? We're not going to go into detail because all this time I thought about the story of Joseph was telling about the character of Joseph and what happened in his family, but no, 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 no. The story of Joseph is actually telling amazing story of God's faithfulness. Okay? Because remember, God said in Genesis 3, one day, someone, a child of Eve, gonna crush the head of Satan, right? Which is Jesus, right? So you guys, I'm not sure if you guys remember this Bible verse or not. It says in Genesis 50:20. Okay, this is after everything happened, after why this one back to that way? Let me see. It keep on doing this to me. Let me try to change it back. Sorry, technical difficulties. I hope by looking at this picture kind of give you a reminder what happened. Okay, here we go. Okay, so in Genesis 50:20 it says, this is after everything happened. Genesis 50, this is the last chapter of the book of Genesis, right? After Joseph was sold to Egypt, after he became secondhand, right below Pharaoh, and then after, the famine, and his brothers went to Egypt to buy food. This is after he revealed himself to his brothers, right? He said, "You meant to hurt me. Who are you?" It's his brothers. Remember, his brother hated him because he was favored by his father. And then he told them the dream that God gave it to him. He said, "You meant to hurt me, but God turned your evil into good. It was to save the lives of many people, and it is being done." Right? So even all this time, we're evil. We sin. We try to do all these bad things against God, against each other. But guess what? God's plan doesn't change. Whatever God says will happen, it doesn't change. And God is faithful. He remembered what he promised. So in the midst of our sinning, guess what? God still sent his one and only son to us, right? So if anything, you guys need to remember from the story of Joseph, it's not how good Joseph is, but I want you to remember, doesn't matter how bad we are, how much we sin against God, we're trying to do our own evil ways. God loves us so much and he's so faithful, he provides a way out for us, which is through Jesus, right? Okay, so now we finished. How many stories did we finish already? The creation. God takes 6 days to create, and on the 7 days he rested. He created us in his own image. Unfortunately, we rather trust in our own judgment of good and evil, so we took the enticement from Satan, ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, so sin entered this world. Now, every single one of us become a born sinner. The day we're born until the day we die, we're a sinner. It cannot be changed, right? After that, three story, because there's so much sin. Every thought of our human minds are evil all the time, and God was hurting so much. And because he's just, he has to punish the sins, right? And we sin so much that to the point that God said, I feel sorry that I made all of this, and and to the point that he wanted to destroy everything on earth. And it is the story of the flood. I remember the story of a flood. It's not a pretty story with all these cute little animals and the ark flowing on the water with a rainbow behind. No, it's a really, really sad story. Can you imagine? Everything on earth died. All the crying from people. I'm not trying to show you how sad, how scary it is, but it is. But the most part is that this is how bad sin is. Okay? But even though with all of this, God loved all of us so much, he didn't forget his promise. He didn't forget that one day a child of Eve gonna crush the head of Satan, which is Jesus, right? So he saved this one man. Doesn't mean that Noah is perfect. He's holy. He's righteous. Even though he was called righteous, not because he's like 100% good. He's not a sinner. No, he is still a sinner. Okay, but he's called righteous because he believed what God says, right? He built the ark. It took a long time. Everybody was laughing at him, but he said, "No, God, I believe in you." That's why he was called righteous, right? That's how his whole family was saved. But guess what? As soon as he came out, he made a sacrifice, and God said that I was pleased from your sacrifice. I will remember, and I will not, flood the whole earth. I will not destroy the whole human being and all the living beings on earth. I will put the rainbow as a symbol of my promise. But guess what? As soon as after that, Noah got drunk and everybody started sinning again. So which just shows that even though he was the chosen one, in the story, he still is a sinner, right? And after the story of Noah, God shows us the story of Abraham, right? This is the first time that God made a promise to all of us, right? And God promised that, come and follow my ways, and then you'll be a blessing. You'll have a lot of children, and you'll have a lot of land. And guess what? What was the most important child will come out from this line, the line of Abraham? It's Jesus, right? But guess what? If Abraham just heard all this, he didn't do anything, he didn't believe in God, and none of this will happen. He heard God's calling. He believed, even though he didn't see anything, but he believed with faith. And with that faith, he put action into it. He acted onto it. He left his home. He followed God's guidance, right? And God also showed him again later on, showed him the stars in the sky. He said that you will have as many as descendants as the stars in the sky, right? And you will have your own child, right? This is the covenant that God gave it to Abraham. If you do your part, I will do my part. It's a conditional promise, right? And after Abraham, it comes to the story of Joseph. It's not about the character of Joseph. Yes, there's a lot for us to learn, but the most important is this story. I want you guys to remember how faithful God is. Even when we try to do evil, when we sin, but God's good plan to save his people doesn't change. It says in the Bible, you might meant evil, but God turned it to good, right? And it's already done. I want you guys to remember, even though we sin, but God sent his one and only child, Jesus, onto this earth to save all of us. Okay? And then we're gonna move on. I don't know why my PowerPoint keep on changing, but we're gonna move on. Now we finish the story, all the story from Genesis. Now we're going to the book of Exodus. Okay, the Exodus basically meaning going out, right? It's Moses leading these people going out from where? Egypt, right? Maybe I can find the right slide for all of you guys. Okay, this is the very first time God revealed his name to his people. Remember, Moses was called at the burning bush, right? There's a bush is burning, but it's not burning because God's presence is there. It's not like the fire that we're thinking he's burning off everything, but it's a burning bush. And then the burning bush said, Moses, Moses, right? And Moses went, and then God told him, you're going to lead your people out of Egypt, out of the slavery. Thank you. Yes, Caleb is Egypt. And this is the first time that God revealed his name to his people. Okay, so Moses said that, okay, I'm going to lead your people out, but who I'm going to say, who sent me? I can't just go back and say, okay, I heard from a burning bush. Who sent me? And God said, tell them the Lord sent me. I'm sorry, the PowerPoint just not working. The Lord sent me. I am who I am. Okay, meaning God is everything. He is who he is. Okay, and then it says in the Bible, this basically means, let me find the right slide for you guys. I am who I am, right? Do you remember the 10 plagues that we did? Okay, it means God doesn't change. He's faithful and he keeps his promise. He will do whatever to keep his promise. Okay, do you remember the 10 plagues? Okay, he went through all of this, but in the midst of it, God didn't forget that what he promised. He said that he's gonna take his people on. He will save his people. And in the line, guess who's gonna come at the end of it? In the middle of it, not at the end of it. Someone came. It's Jesus, right? I want you guys, do you guys still remember the 10 plagues that we did? Yes? No? We made a video. You guys made a video to it. The templates. Yes? Okay. From all the stories today, I just want you guys to remember a lot of times it looks impossible in human size. Remember, it took like all 10 bad things happened to the Egyptians. It was so hard to for the Israelites to come out from Egypt, right? Or it's from the beginning, from the flood, from all the stories. I want you guys to remember, God is faithful. Okay, even though we sin so much, but He remember what He says. What He says, it will be done. He loved every single one of us so much, and then He knows that all we do is sinning and then we're evil all the time. Just because it says in the Bible, people before the flood was their thoughts are evil all the time, doesn't mean after the flood we're not like that. We're just the same with those people. Our thoughts and our hearts are evil all the time. But in the midst of that, God knows that there's no way I'm a sinner that I can help myself. There's no way I can come out from it. That's why God sent the help. God sent His one and only Son, Jesus, came here as 100% man and 100% God, right? This is what we learned from second week of VBS. Do you guys remember there's something that we did during VBS? I think it was a story told, um, the story of the Tower of Babel. Do you guys remember? That happened before the flood, right? People got together. They think that they can be better than God. They can reach to the heavens. They start making this tower, remember? And then there was an activity that you guys did together. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to go into a little bit more of today's lesson, but we're not going to do it on YouTube Live. We're all going to go onto Zoom. We're gonna go to Zoom class. You'll be able to find your the link in the parents chat room. So what I need you guys to do is, instead of, if you have siblings sharing a device with you, because we're gonna do breakout rooms like last week, okay? You need to have two different devices with your siblings. So unless you guys are in the same class, so teacher will be able to break you guys into different classes, okay? So I'm going to end today's YouTube live right now, and then let's all go to Zooms right now.